This video we're going to talk all about Hake brush as it's known in, I think it's Japanese. I want to try and do this painting just using the Hake brush. So I'm going to take you through some of the techniques, some of the things that I do with the Hake brush. But it is really about water control, knowing how much water to use. I'll show you some of the things that you can do with the Hake brush. So let's get straight into the video. These are the two Hake brushes that I do have. I've got to say, I don't know whether I've ever used this one. If I have, maybe once or twice. You can see, nice broad brush. And then this one, which is considered as the number 1 inch. So maybe this one's probably a 3-inch. The Hake brush, or the Hake brush, was used and made popular by the artist Ron Ranson. I like to use these paint brushes just to simplify things, and that's the main sort of purpose of these brushes. So that's one of the things that, well, you can't really do much details. You can't really faff around with details with these brushes because they're so big and they hold so much water. The first thing that I would suggest, or my first thing that I wanted to mention, is I will be using this tray. It's known as a butcher's tray. You can get these, you can either get sort of aluminium foil cooking tray, or one of these from an art store. It's a plastic tray. Now, I've not used this for a while, and there might be a few hairs and dust and all that sort of thing in the tray. So if you do go out and get a butcher's tray, I would recommend, if you can get one with a lid or cover it, something like that, that would be definitely beneficial. Now I'm just dabbing my Hake brush in the jar of water here. So I want plenty of water on this brush. Maybe I should start with a big brush, but this 1 inch Hake I'm going to start off with. And I'm familiar with this brush to start off my paintings. So let's go by just wetting the paper all across. You can see how much water these do hold, even the smaller one. So the paper's actually wet all the way through. You might be able to see with the glare in the light reflecting, so that's just a good indication of how much water is on the paper. And I just I'm going to add a little bit of blue here. So I've dipped my brush in the water, so I've got plenty of water in there, and there's plenty of water on the paper as well. So for the sky, any lighter areas, that's what you want, so don't worry too much. And I think the key is with the Hake brush, or Hake brush, is to be quite quick. You're not going to be messing around with details, anything like that, and so it gives you just gotta, for me, I think painting as if you don't really care about the result, just throw the paint down, it really does have a nice effect. And just dabbing in some yellow ochre. You can see my tray is not clean. You got all sorts of paints mixing together. So I just want to add a little bit of warmth in this sky area. And don't worry at this point if you're painting along, or if you want to try this technique, just have fun with it. Just let the things happen on the paper. Don't try and fight it. And that's the key with these brushes. Just go ahead and add the colours, and don't worry about detail. You can do the detail shortly, like after, but just adding some darker tones now to the sky. And so I'm just going to let that dry. Quite a funny story actually. When you're painting with these larger brushes, obviously you can't worry about detail and you can't paint carefully with them. So just go in, just add the colours. I'm going to add some red actually. Just again, this brush now is not too wet. I've not reloaded with water or anything like that. So I'm just going in with the paint. So for the first wash, you're going in with quite a lot of water on the surface of the paper, as you can see, and that's the first stage. You can actually, just one sec, you can actually go in with some tissue as well, just to damp out. That's something I didn't have to hand, but I've got some here, so just let me go in, and I'm going to pull some of this colour off just by dabbing. That's the technical term as well. So just dabbing out some of that pigment just to give us some bits of sky, clouds, and you can also use the tissue by just sliding it across the paper. So that's quite nice. You can see how quick you got to move with the Hake brush or Hake brush, and you can't do it slowly. It's just one of those things. Just don't fight the watercolor, don't fight the pigment on the paper. Just go as quick as you can. And if, oh, by the way, if you do want to see, there's another artist on YouTube called Stephen Cronin. So he's a really good one to watch, all about doing quick watercolor landscapes or paintings. He is really, really good with, especially with the Hake as well. So that's one of my recommendations. But I've got a funny story to tell you, and this is when you're working quick with watercolor, more of these happy accidents happen. Now, when I first started watercolor painting, I'll show you a picture, just a little story for you while this paint dries. Now, this painting was the very first painting that I did after many years not painting in watercolor. And it's actually, I named this one Sweet Dreams. If you know the song by the Eurythmics, I had the DVD and I used to watch this in my flat, and I paused the screen at this part of the video where Annie Lennox is lying on the bed, and it zooms into her eye but goes into a purple colour. Now I sat down. This is actually another colour. I did get these published, get some prints done, and if you notice within the eye there's a face looking back and it's got one eye. So it's quite interesting really, and the reason why I share this is because when you work quickly, sometimes these happy accidents happen. So why do I share this? Simply just because when you're painting with a Hake brush, you're forced to speed up, not take too much time for detail, and oftentimes these happy accidents can happen. And so I just remember this painting as I was learning to paint. So coming back to the painting now, it has dried off a little bit. I don't think it's not fully dry. It is slightly damp. So while it's in the damp stage, because I've already added the first wash, the next sort of washes, what you want to do is get more paint to water. So here goes. I'm just adding some Payne's Grey and some, I think it's ultramarine blue. And this is actually Jackson's watercolours. Quite nice paint to use. I want some trees. Now, I did think it was a little bit more more wet, sorry. But I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm just going in and just popping in a few trees, and I really don't know how this is going to turn out. I'm filming with my mic on, so I want to try and do less editing. I want this video out maybe later on today. It's Friday, so I don't really know how this is going to turn out. You can see how the bottom area is more wet still, so you got a little bit of movement. Also, I would like to point out with the angle of the paper does help as well when you're using these Hake brushes. Because you got a lot of water, you want movement, so the paint's always moving before it dries. So in fact, because I've done this little bit and it's not quite dry yet, what I'm going to do, I'm going to add, instead of the not being as dry as I wanted to, I'm going to go in with, if I can find it, I did have it at hand, maybe I've put it in my pencil case, just one sec. Yeah, I've got my little scraper tool. So I'm just using the Hake brush and I guess this little scraper as well. So I guess it's a painting with just the Hake brush and a scraper. So you can see, just using a little bit of a card that I've ripped up, broke up, and you got this nice edge to it. So just adding a few rocks now. And I do want a little bit of colour to this. It just looks flat, so I'm going to add some, I think this might be raw sienna, and a bit of red, and a bit of yellow ochre, just whatever colour really. I'm just mixing a bit of mud. There's not too much paint on my brush now. Because I've got a lot of water on the, still in the area, it's still quite wet. You want to try, if you're going to go in while it's still a bit wet, you want thicker paint to add so that you don't get these cauliflowers. Now it still might happen, but we'll see. No, so that's taken quite well. So you know that you got more paint than water at this point, and that's perfect. That's what I'm after. So let's just colour really. Maybe a touch more red in this. There we go. Not really bothered. Not really fussed about what colour. I'm going to wash my brush out, and I think, yeah, wash my brush out. I'm going to dry it a little bit. Just take a little bit of that water out. So there's not too much in the brush now. I'm going to tap into the sap green. This will be for some foliage, a bit of yellow ochre. Just rough the brush up really and just dab it a little bit. Now I'm just going to go in for some foliage here. Because it's a big brush, I don't want these big sort of areas of foliage. You can rough your brush up a little bit, dry it, and pick up dryish paint. As you can see, quite nice. There we go. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted in the first place. So just little bits of foliage here. Perfect. That's what I wanted. And you can see I'm not you can see I'm not being careful with this at all. That's not what I want to do. You can't really be too careful with these brushes anyway. So, oh, and you do want to avoid, if you can, getting a pattern of some sort. You want the foliage to be nice and spontaneous, I suppose. I don't know. Just tap in a bit of that raw sienna. And I think I'll have a little bit of dark to this as well. So I want the shadows in the trees. So a bit of grey, sort of Payne's grey, a bit of ultramarine blue, and that can go underneath sort of the trees. So can you see how there's different ways of using this brush? You can see it's quite dry, and so you can sort of splay the brush out a little bit and get that. So it is quite dry at the moment, this brush, and it's giving me a nice tree effect. Can you see that? Maybe take some of this red, it's quite harsh. You can pull up some grasses with this brush as well, as you can see. It just want to just gently whisper on the paper like that. You don't want too much uniform sort of grasses. Just tapping in a bit of sap green there. I think what I always like to do in my paintings, I just love painting mountains. So I think this paper is almost dry. So I want a fairly light mix. So this is, again, I think because the paper's drying, I think we'll be able to get away with more water to paint this time. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Like I say, you never know in watercolor. Can be quite unpredictable. So you just got to find out once you put that paint on the paper. That's when you find out, I suppose. And a lot of it does come to experience. So I know it was asked about water control with the Hake brush. And that just really does come with experience. So let me just pop. I'm going to take some of this. I do like doing this to my paintings. Just taking some of that paint out. So we got a little bit of form to the mountains. And I think the next step, I'm just dabbing dry my brush. So all I'm doing here is taking that water. You can see plenty of water in the brush. Now I just want a bit of dry brush. So let me dry it even more. There's still quite a lot in there. I'm going to use the dry brush technique now, and that's just to add the water into the scene. So you just want to go, I'm going to go this way. Sorry you can't see. There we go. Just some dry brush, and that gives you a bit of texture. Oh, see, that's not what I wanted. Okay, we can fix that. Well, it's still wet, so you've got to be careful not to disturb the wet paint. But yeah, just a little bit of water going on there, and I think I'll have to fix this tree. So a bit more Payne's grey, a bit more sap green, and then just tap the tree. So I'll fix that mistake. You can always fix things. I know watercolor is known as unforgiving, but you can get away with things. It does forgive sometimes. It's all about timing. You know, if you hit it at the right time, you can fix these little problems. But I just wanted to do this simple. It really is simple. You can see it didn't really take me too much time, this painting. Maybe I can add, let me just clean the brush out. I'm just a sucker for this 1-inch Hake brush. You can see I forgot to use my larger Hake, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. It's the same principle. I'm just tapping in a little bit of that yellow. I don't know what yellow it is, but just a bit of lighter area in the trees. That just gives it a nice little pop. Maybe some of that in the grass and on the banking. And that's pretty much it. I wanted to do, like I said, with Hake brushes, you want to move quite quick. It's something, you get a completely different painting from moving quick, from using the Hake brushes. You don't want to take your time, or, well, you can do, but it just really gives a nice effect with fast movement. You can see, probably took me 5-6 minutes to paint this, And that's really how simple you can use the Hake brush. So I hope you find this useful. I hope it does help those with questions about the Hake brushes. This isn't an expensive Hake brush. You can get the Ron Ranson range. This was quite a cheap one from Jackson's Art Supplies. So it works for me. I don't know whether there's much difference with the more expensive brush, but this brush works for me. So like anything, the Hake brush is all about practice. You want to try and just go with the flow. It does hold a lot of water in the brush, so that in mind, you do get all these nice things happening when the colours start to mix. So just embrace that, keep practicing. You will get the hang of it. It will become something like anything. Practice does make perfect. I'm still practicing myself, still trying to master the Hake brush. But I do hope you find this video useful. Keep practicing, and don't forget to give us a thumbs up for this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, bye bye.